Greetings Internet, my name is GitGezo and this is Adventures of a Game Tester Devlog 1. What is Adventures of a Game Tester? Well, there's a bit of a backstory behind that. I work as a QA tester at a company that creates games, and recently a friendly competition has been organized. The point of this competition is to create a small game with the theme Adventures of a Game Tester. So what is my Adventures of a Game Tester? I am going to create an old-school twin-stick bullet hell shooter. How does the theme tie into it? Well, stop me if you've heard this before. The player character goes into the game and shoots up the bugs. Not the most creative approach, but I will be focusing on making the game as fun as possible. I will be using GDevelop to accomplish this, which incidentally is one of the programs suggested to us by the person organizing the event. It's been a bit of an adventure trying to figure out its inner workings, but after a couple of hours spent working on it for the last 3 days, I've reached a point where I feel like I have something to show off. So, without further ado, here are the humble beginnings of Adventures of a Game Tester. As a disclaimer, I am only using placeholder art for now. I aim to upgrade the art as the project progresses, but for now, rectangles and colorful circles are enough to show up what I have so far. Speaking of, here on the right we have the arena in which the gameplay will be taking place. Once I start the game, you'll notice very quickly that the walls have no collision yet. That's something to fix for the next build. On the left, there's these two screens. These are player status screens. I intend this game to have both a single player and a two-player co-op mode, and I want the players to be able to opt in and out of the game at any time, hence the permanent presence of the status screens. Over here, on the programming side, we have player movement, combat, death and respawn behavior. Then we have the 3 enemy waves that I'm going to be testing, and then there's the AI for the 5 basic enemy types that I have so far. But first of all, let me introduce you to the protagonist of this video. This white little guy, as you can see, he turns towards the mouse wherever I move it, while I make him move with WASD. I do intend for the game to have controller support eventually for a larger degree of movement, but that's a future concern. If I press and hold down the left mouse button, I'll fire off these little bullets. So, not counting any future pickups that might augment it, this will be what combat will mostly consist of. Now that that's out of the way, let's see some enemies. There we go. Let's enable the first type. These squiggly green dudes aren't exactly a threat in this current setup, but it's a good way to test their AI. All they do is bum rush the player with zero concern for their own safety, so they will walk into your bullets with zero care. The purpose of this enemy type is to act as a sort of meat shield for the more competent kind of enemy that keeps at distance and fires at the player, as you'll see in just a bit. So let's disable these guys. And let's enable the second and third type of enemy. These two are very similar to each other in certain respects, which is why I put them in the same wave. You probably noticed that one of them fired bullets in random directions, while the other lays down mines in its track. These two use the same programming for their movement, which is to say, every second or so they will pick a random spot in the arena and move towards it. These guys are similar in purpose to the green ones, as they aren't actively threatening the player. They are more of a hazard because of the randomness. As you can see, every enemy so far has died after taking a single hit, and so have I, for that record. That's something I will address in just a second. But first, the last enemy type, you will notice right away that I will have a bit of a trouble with. Oof, and there we go already. These guys circle the player and shoot in their direction. I have done this for both clockwise and counterclockwise motions, and you can see that only with about 15 of them how much trouble I am having. So probably I'm not going to have a lot of them hanging around the arena while there are other enemy types also, since it gets a little bit hectic. However, if it wasn't at least a little bit hectic, well, would I really even be able to call this a bullet hell shooter? So, two big issues you may have noticed are the following. First of all, as I've already mentioned, any single hit from an enemy kills the player in a single hit, and likewise all enemies die in a single hit as well. Secondly, if I happen to have to respawn while an enemy is on the player's spawn position, I will instantly die upon respawning, so hopefully I will fix these issues by the next update. So what do we have so far? I have the controls for the player 1 done, the AI for the basic enemy types, the gameplay, specifically combat, and the framework of how enemy waves follow each other. What I aim to accomplish for the next time I will be showing this project off are the following: collisions with the walls, a health system, health bars for the player and enemies so they don't die in a single hit, invincibility frames upon spawning, maybe a score system, and maybe better art as I work on it alongside the programming part. So hopefully by next week I will have accomplished the two more important ones. But until then, let's watch me attempt to take on all three waves of these enemies, and hopefully I will not die to them too many times. So wish me luck, but here's a hint: I will probably die a lot. Let's just adjust the seconds here. Let's say there's going to be 5 seconds between each wave. And we are ready to start. Here we go. So the green dudes aren't exactly a concern, as I've already said. But as soon as other enemies show up, oof, it's already an issue. Another thing that you may have observed is that if enemies cluster up on each other real close, then I can take them out in a single hit. And another thing that I need to fix is that if I am dead while enemies are spawning, they will all spawn on top of each other and move around as one single enemy, which is not exactly ideal. And I do believe we are done. So there we are, victory at last. And I only died, what, 5, 6, even maybe more times? Maybe I'm just bad at my own game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching me get killed repeatedly at the hands of my own creation. And thank you for watching. Next time I will